Today, I'd like to talk about if government contracting is worth it. So, in most cases, if you're watching this video, you've probably heard about government contracting. Maybe a friend of yours is working with the government. Maybe you've watched a YouTube video or a LinkedIn of people actually winning a lot of money in government contracting. And you must be asking yourself, what's the deal with government contracting? Is it really worth it? And in today's video, that's what I'm going to be discussing. What's really the deal is with government contracting. I'm going to lay out the pros and cons and let you be the judge on whether government contracting is worth it or not. So first, I'd like to start with the positives. What are the key advantages of working with the government, of government contracting? One, and this one goes without discussion, is stable revenue. Government contracts, they provide stable revenue because of consistent demand from the government side. So let's say you provide services for landscaping. In most cases, the agency that gave you that contract will require landscaping services in the future. And once you land a government contract with a specific agency, you're more likely to win other government contracts with different agencies. So you're always getting new contracts every now and then by the same agency or different agency. So this provides your business with a stable revenue. The second important thing is once you win a contract with the government, it signals to other clients that you are legit. What that means is you are a business worthy working with. You have high standards because the government has high standards for businesses that it work with. So if you worked, for example, for NASA, a government agency, that means that you are on your stuff and you are a kind of a business worthy of working with because you have that stamp on your resume or CV as a business. The third important part, which is you get access to large markets. So working with the government open doors for a lot of agencies. So once you work, as I've mentioned, once you get a contract with one agency, you have that as part of your past performances. It's likely for you to win another contract, even with a different agency. So it opens a lot of doors. And even let's say you work with the federal government, now you can work in your state or county, and they see that you've worked with the federal government, it will be easier. So it opens up a lot of doors. You'll have business coming in that's steady and stable. Finally, which this is a case for a lot of businesses that they face issues with, which is payment. When you're working with the largest customer in the world, you're going to get paid. So government typically pays promptly and in full if the work is approved, so you don't have anything to worry about in terms of receiving a payment for the work that you have done. Now, moving on to the challenges. So I showed you the good side. Now it's only fair to show you the challenges of government contracting. One is that it's complex and has complex regulations. What that means is you have extensive compliance and reporting requirements, and that could be a lot. So if you had a chance of seeing a government contract solicitation or a bid, you would see that it has a lot of government documents, a lot of requirements. The steps could be challenging, and it's a lot of steps. And also, it's not easy to find those contracts, especially if you're looking at a wide spectrum. The second thing, which is a lengthy procurement process. In most cases, especially when it gets to complex government contracts, you have to start the process early on. There's a process that goes from like pre-solicitation, even sources sought, pre-solicitation, then solicitation, then that's when you place your bid, and then they have to award you the contract, and then you have to perform the job. So if you're, for example, used to working with private businesses, there's no such thing as pre-solicitation or sources sought. In most cases, you're requested to do the job, you do the job, and that's done. With the government, it's different. The process could sometimes take up to 12 months, 16 months, sometimes 2 years based on the specific niche you're working in. So the process is lengthy. Third one, which is really a significant issue, is that the opportunities are everywhere. So this could be a good thing, that there are so many opportunities that you can't even know where to look. But at the same time, if you're serious about government contracting, it's a challenge because you have like thousands of procurement websites. On the federal level, the one that's known, everyone knows about it, is SAM.gov. But if you only rely on SAM.gov, there's just so much competition and only so many contracts to look for, specifically in your niche. So then you go and you start looking into state, county, even education, and you see that there are thousands of websites. So if you realistically, I'm going to show you here, if you realistically had to go through all of these websites, these, by the way, are all procurement websites and they're different. You see, it's impossible to go manually through all of these. You see, I gathered all of these, almost 1,100 government contracting procurement website. We're just talking about website. So if you had to visit every single one of these websites every day, it would be impossible. So because opportunities are everywhere, it might discourage you from starting, or you might just rely on SAM.gov, but in some cases, SAM.gov is not enough. Which gets me to my second point, that it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork to understand, the solicitation. It's also a lot of work to submit a proposal or a bid. So on one, you have to read a lot, and then you have to write a lot. And it's a challenge, especially let's say you work in construction. You don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. You just want to do your job. And with that, if you want to work with the government, you're dealing with a lot of paperwork. A lot of people kind of delegate this to a business outside. Maybe they pay someone to find them the contract, and maybe they pay someone else to write the proposal for them. But if you are the business and you want to continuously work with the government, you kind of have to do it yourself at some point, or it's going to be expensive. So why government contracting? So maybe I discouraged you with the challenges, but I want to tell you that even with all of these challenges, it's still a lucrative business to get into, because there's high value contracts, which means a lot of profit for your business. And the second thing is you can expand your business on a different scale once you get into the process of winning government contracts. So you're expanding your network with the government, different government agencies. It also signals to private businesses that your business is working with the government, which means something. And then you're also entering a new market that is somewhat recession proof. So the difference, the private market, when kind of things go tight, people spend less. With the government, they have kind of a schedule and a calendar. In a lot of cases, they have a certain budget, they have to spend it. So you're also hedging against market fluctuation. You could think about it that way as well. Now, how do you navigate the government contracting landscape and actually avoid going through the challenges, or minimize the time and effort required to get a government contract? One is you have to understand regulations. That's just number one. So you have to understand agency-specific data. So I'll show you an example what that means. So let's say I'm looking at this government contract on SAMSearch. And then what I do always is I check the analytics to see how the agency spends when it comes to these contracts. So I want to know which businesses are winning, so I could subcontract with them, or I could see, is my business similar? Then I want to see which businesses are getting these government contracts. So is it small businesses? In this case, it's not. It's regular businesses. Is it women-owned businesses? Is it veteran-owned businesses? Is it 8A? Things like that I want to know. So I do my research beforehand, before I even get into the government contract. Second is you want to register with the agency. So if you're working with the federal government, you want to register on SAM.gov. If you're working with California, you have to register with that state. Third, you have to prepare competitive bids. So it's one thing to read and understand the government contract. Another thing is to actually do a good job and perform really well. But even with those two things, if you don't submit a really competitive bid, you have no chance of winning. So your price has to be on point. You have to meet all the requirements. You have to show that you have past performances, and you have to show that you are capable of doing what they're asking you to do. Finally, you build relationships. So you want to network with procurement officers and partners as much as you can. And I'm going to show you here how to do that. So how do you avoid the risks and challenges in government contracting? One is you have to understand the contract terms as well as possible. I know it could discourage you a lot to see that there are a lot of contracts, and each one of these, a lot of attachments, and each one of these is a lot of pages, but you have no excuse now, because with AI, you'll be able to ask it questions like this: what are the requirements? And it would give it to you like that. And you can have a casual conversation with it and understand all the requirements, understand what they're requesting, all the details in an easy manner. So if you're using AI, it should be easy for you to understand requirements, because it's not a lot of work. Now, the second thing is use AI. So what that means, instead of actually looking through all of these government procurement websites, you just do it in one place, and that's SAMSearch. And with this search, you can mention whatever you want and it'll give you results back. It doesn't have to be keyword specific. So here I want healthcare contracts relating to nursing. And it gave me so many contracts with AI generated summary. This one is in New York. This one is in Pennsylvania. They're seeking qualified short-term nursing services. This one is in this county, that's in Georgia. So you see, with just one search, I was able to access all of these. A lot of contracts in one place. I don't have to go across all of these websites. I can also, with a switch, I can go back to federal. And now I'm looking at nursing government contracts in on a federal scale. So AI makes it easy, and businesses that are taking advantage of this are ahead of everyone else because they're able to, one, find contracts easier, two, understand them easier, as I've shown you. Now, being early. So I told you that you have to develop relationships and getting ahead. How do you do that? Especially on a federal level, you always want to search for pre-solicitations and sources sought because that's when the agencies are still doing market research. You can come in, give your expertise, help them shape up the opportunity, and in return, you ask for a meeting. In the meeting, you ask your questions, you introduce yourself, and this way you are developing a relationship. So when the sources sought and pre-solicitation becomes a solicitation, then your business is on top of their heads, and also you helped shape up the opportunity so your qualification will reflect in the solicitation, and also you've built a relationship so they can tell, okay, we have this business we can rely on. We know that they are expert in this field, and if they submit a bid, then we know that they know what they're talking about. So just by that, you're ahead of everyone else. And how do you do that? You start as early as possible in the process. I'm talking sources sought and pre-solicitation. That's how you actually develop a relationship. When it becomes a solicitation, most likely somebody else did this and they're ahead of you, or you're just going to be treated like everyone else and your bid is going to be considered just like any other bid. So you want to get in as early as possible, specifically and especially on the federal level. Now, finally, you want to have quality work. So in order to actually get these contracts, and it's not about winning one contract, it's about building a process where you're actively winning government contracts with the same agency or in multiple agencies, you have to provide and perform quality work. So it all goes back to how quality the work is for them to request for you again. So how do you do that? If you're doing the job yourself, you try to thrive for the best performance you could provide. If you're subcontracting, you have to make sure that you're subcontracting to a business that can provide quality work. Now, so what are the key takeaways on government contracting? I think it's definitely worth it, especially in this day and age. It provides you stable income and growth potential. So you're not only starting as a small business with a really powerful client, but you also have growth potential to grow your business with more agencies, more contracts. The complexity requires expertise, but with AI, it's a lot easier to find these contracts, breaking them down and submitting a bid for them. And if you're a well-prepared business, then it's worth your time and effort because the reward, on the other hand, is a lot of income and revenue for your business. And the second thing is you gain credibility by working with the US government or your state or county or even the university in your area or somewhere else. And it becomes easier. It's a cycle. It becomes easier for you to win more and more contracts. So definitely worth it. Might be challenging in the beginning, but as you move forward, it will definitely be easier and rewarding. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think, if government contracting is worth it or not. I know a lot of people in our community, they have won contracts and they've went through this process. So it'd be great if you share your experience with everyone else. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.